Varanasi, halfway down the Ganges, is one of the oldest cities in India and the world. Long known in the West as Benares, it is sacred to Hindus and a magnet for tourists. Indians and foreigners alike are drawn to its narrow, chaotic streets, its multitude of temples, and the famous ghats along the river where the dead are cremated, the living perform their ablutions, and the laundry is scrubbed. Yet all is not well with India's rivers. They are blocked by dams to generate electricity and sucked dry by irrigation schemes. Their waters are polluted with fertilizer runoff from the fields, garbage and raw sewage from the cities, and toxic chemicals from the factories. Upstream from Varanasi, some of the tanneries of the industrial city of Kanpur spew a mixture of acids, dyes and heavy metals straight into the Ganges. There is a treatment plant, but it is unable to cope with all the poisonous effluents from the burgeoning leather industry after a doubling of the number of factories in the past 2 decades. And factory owners often find it cheaper and easier simply to dump their waste into the drain.
This chromium containing chemical is really very toxic. It's a heavy metal and it's a known carcinogen.
Despite the efforts of environmental campaigners such as Rakesh Jaiswal, not even the revered Ganges is spared the pollution. No matter that the river, which rises near the Himalayas on the border with China, provides water and food to hundreds of millions of people in North India and Bangladesh by the time it reaches the Bay of Bengal. I asked Mr. Jaiswal about some of the other health effects of the tannery waste.
There's various kinds of rashes, boils, pustules, rotten nails, and even numbness in the limbs.
From the source to the mouth of the river, activists are trying to save the Ganges. They include the devotees of an ashram in the Himalayan foothills who have come downstream to Allahabad to celebrate the Kumbh Mela, a Hindu festival at the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna rivers.
The Ganges River flows 2,500 kilometers through 5 states, and the problems are as varied as the people who live on her banks. We begin with problems of hydropower plants, damming, diversions, obstructions, and then we come into problems of pollution, chemical, agricultural, industrial waste, sewage.
Much of the pollution that afflicts the Ganges comes from the tributaries that drain the plains and hills of northern India.
Here on the northern outskirts of Delhi, the black and stinking waters of the Najafgarh drain, an open sewer that serves millions of people in the capital, flows into what remains of the Yamuna River, one of the great tributaries of the Ganges.
For years, Indian authorities have announced plans to save the Ganges and the Yamuna. Now they're being joined by business.
There's a project called Ganga Yamuna project. Huge amount of investments is going to happen in the wastewater treatment and recycling systems. And this is an opportunity which is being tapped. In another 5 to 10 years from now, we have several wastewater treatment plants coming across the river Ganges and Yamuna. And every source of water will be identified, treated and recycled.
Foreign donors want to help as well. The World Bank is trying to start $1 billion project to help clean up the river.
And just to give you an example, this was done in the River Rhine in Europe, which is, of course, a very important river there. It costs about 40 billion euros to get to a sustainable outcome. The Ganges is bigger, has more people, more pollution, so you would not expect cleaning the Ganges to be cheaper than cleaning the Rhine was.
Here at the Defence Services Sailing Club in Delhi, people used to go out regularly at weekends in the 1970s. But now the boats are in the sheds and it doesn't look as though they've been used for some time. For all the development projects and the money spent on trying to save them, India's rivers, like the Yamuna here, are still in pretty bad shape. Victor Mallet, Financial Times, Delhi.